Star Wars The Force Unleashed is quite possibly one of the most influential Star Wars games to date. And that's saying something because I played a lot of Jedi Fallen Order. Hey, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, so, basically put, Star Wars The Force Unleashed was quite possibly one of my favorite games I've ever played. I played the second one first. I never played the first one first, but when the game came out, fucking mind-blowing. So, I got this graphic novel when it first came out at my local school. It's not in the best condition, but I knew the story. My cousin had the DS game. It was perfectly sublime in every way imaginable possible. I lost my train of thought. And I bit my tongue. I bit my tongue. Bit my tongue. And, this intro is done. Star Wars The Force Unleashed was what Jedi Knight 2 and Jedi Academy were to lightsaber combat, only that this game was centering around Force abilities. You played as Starkiller, Darth Vader's secret apprentice that he raised personally in order for him to usurp the Emperor, and maybe on some personal level, to fill the void in his mechanical heart after the events of Star Wars Revenge of the Sith. This game took place in Legends continuity, meaning it is no longer canon since Lucasfilm was bought out by Disney. Oddly enough, despite being a character with extreme levels of power, the game still offered a fair amount of challenge to the player, which makes it the Dark Souls of its time, right? Instead of repeating what other reviewers of this game have said, I have decided to take on a different route of exploring this game's best features. Specifically, the character customization options. This game came out with a large variety of costumes, each of which offered tons of replayability on that feature alone. What with the different lightsaber combinations you can try, as well as the out-of-place scenarios you can throw your avatar into, it allowed the player to live out any kind of power fantasy they had at the time of release. In my opinion, not one of these costumes looked like they were slapped on or done lazily by intent. Regardless if some content was DLC at the time of release, the overall game felt complete even afterwards, which is to say nothing of the Ultimate Sith Edition as well. However, the same cannot be said in the years to come at the time in regards to future Star Wars games in the hands of EA, otherwise known as Electronic Arts. In many ways, Star Wars The Force Unleashed and its sequel may have been one of the few last great Star Wars games before Lucasfilm, and by extension LucasArts, was bought out by Disney. Let me be clear, this isn't to shame anyone for liking modern Star Wars games. I myself frequently play Star Wars Battlefront 2 as well as Jedi Fallen Order, but it is my personal opinion that the current approach to expanding the universe of Star Wars lacks what made the classical expanded universe so great. Where as of now the scope is beyond anything visually imaginable, it is restricted entirely by visuals alone. But that can also lead into another discussion for another video. For now, let's take a look at the extra character skins this game has, and see how descriptive I can get with each and every one of them. Additionally, this video can also serve as an introduction to the exciting expanded universe lore material to the audience. And with that out of the way, let's get started. Around the time this game came out in 2008, everyone was still getting used to the Clone Wars animated CGI series, developed by Lucasfilm. While I personally prefer Tartakovsky's 2003 Micro series over the more popular version of the conflict, everyone else these days tends to gravitate to TCW more, despite its many repetitive flaws and poor EU adaptations. But at the time, it made sense that we would get Starkiller's player model in the style of this series. But I can only imagine that it must have been a shock to play a game with this level of graphic fidelity to be able to switch between art styles on the fly. Mace Windu was the hard-ass of the Jedi Order, from his combat skill, to his seating on the Council, and even taking on the mantle of being the Grand Master of the Jedi Order in Yoda's absence for a brief period of time. Mace Windu has become a famed example of Jedi prowess at its finest. Able to dispatch entire battalions of super battle droids with nothing but his bare fists, and coupled with having the rare purple lightsaber in his era, that only heightened his legendary status as a warrior represented in this game. As I've stated in one of my previous speed paint videos, Jedi Master Ram Koda is one of my favorite characters to declare themselves a Jedi during the reign of the Galactic Empire. While I enjoy playing with this character model in both games in his regular state, which shows that he is fit for battle, I also like to play as his other, more famous role in Starkiller's story, a blind drunk. Ironically, despite the fact that he lost so much of what he dedicated his life to, he didn't turn to the dark side despite becoming an alcoholic. I mean, it's not a suitable substitute, but it kinda just goes to show how becoming a Darksider is more than just having a bad day. As I go around this game, I like to imagine that while he's fighting, he's forming incoherent sentences with his mouth with the intention of forming words. But unfortunately, they'd be so semantically void that any attempt to decipher meaning to them would cause permanent brain damage. We all love Qui-Gon, but come on, it's always fun to play a generally chill Jedi Master who just abuses his power on helpless, obtuse, innocent little midget men. But what else can be said about Qui-Gon that others haven't? He is a maverick Jedi, not a grey one like some people would rather choose to believe. And I personally think discussing the difference between the grey Jedi and being a regular Jedi is in order, huh? We all knew this was coming. While Darth Maul serves as a surrogate boss battle in this game, play it if you want context, it'd be unthinkable to have a Star Wars game of this design and caliber to not have him as a playable character. Just simply imagine him using the half of his saber staff that was severed by Obi-Wan, and then you can replicate him in that particular duel. And speaking of Obi-Wan, despite the fact that throughout most of the game the player is utilizing the reverse-handed style known as Xian, the more sophisticated Obi-Wan Kenobi is a playable character in this game too, as well as his aged counterpart, Ben Kenobi. It's just out of place that they're using their lightsabers in a reverse grip. Funnily enough, out of all the characters that are supposedly out of place in Starkiller's story, Obi-Wan looks the best in my opinion out of all the characters present from the roster. It's great seeing Obi-Wan dispatch waves of stormtroopers, but I personally like to steer clear of him using lightning since it doesn't fit his character. And I will admit, it is strange to see old Ben using a reverse grip in his old age. For younger Obi-Wan, it makes sense considering that he knows of the form that he would teach Anakin Skywalker to fight with Form 5 lightsaber combat, the same style that's tailored to the reverse grip. But it's better to take it as it is and just accept it with a grain of salt. But it still is especially fun to play as him on Tatooine to fit the setting of his lifetime at that point. One cannot mention Obi-Wan Kenobi without following up with his brother, Anakin Skywalker. Unlike many of the other playable characters, Anakin doesn't feel out of place at all using a reverse grip, since it is tailored to the same lightsaber form he himself implements on a daily basis. He just doesn't use the Xian variant, only Jjem So. While Anakin has flirted with the dark side on many occasions, I still don't feel quite as readily to use the Force Lightning ability while playing as him regardless. But I also wouldn't shy away from it either. It's just so cool to see him do what he does best, mowing down baddies with his lightsaber techniques. This was part 1 of my 3-part video series where I tackled the Star Wars Force Unleashed costumes. Please click the annotation of the links or whatever the fuck below, and then you can just go right on to the next video. Happy month of May, everybody. May the Force be with you.